All right, so Dostoevsky, huh? We're diving deep today into his ideas on freedom and suffering. I gotta admit, I'm a little intimidated. This guy is intense, you know?
He is intense.
Yeah. But the analysis you sent me, this worldly people versus monks thing from the brothers Karamazov,
Yeah.
super interesting. I'm hooked.
It really gets to the heart of, well, like, what does freedom even mean?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Because, like, on the surface, freedom seems pretty straightforward.
Right.
Do what you want, make your choices, but then Dostoevsky's like, nope, gotta handle that suffering first.
Exactly. If you're always trying to run from pain, you basically become a slave to whatever takes it away.
Okay, I see where this is going. So the source talks about these two types, right? The worldly person, who is all about comfort and pleasure,
Yeah.
and the monk, who's like, bring on the hardship, deny myself all the good stuff.
Basically, yeah. It's like, think of it this way. The worldly person is building their life on sand, always chasing the next good feeling, but then life happens, right? You lose something, things get tough. What then?
They panic. I mean, I know I would if someone took away all my comforts.
It's more than panic. It's like a desperate need to get that comfort back. And that's when you're vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
Yeah, like open to manipulation. Someone says, hey, I can take your pain away. And you're so desperate, you don't even think about the cost.
So you're saying this worldly person, so focused on feeling good, could be tricked into giving up freedom, their values.
Absolutely. Think of Dostoevsky's characters. Dmitry Karamazov, totally impulsive, driven by passion. He'd pick a quick thrill over his own good long term.
Right.
Or even old Fyodor Pavlovich, the father. Such a hedonist, he completely loses his moral compass.
Oh, wow. I'm seeing how these aren't just ideas. They're like people, like real people Dostoevsky made.
Exactly.
And on the other side, you got the monk, right? Someone like Alyosha Karamazov.
Yeah.
He's not into pleasure. He's choosing discipline, self-denial.
Exactly.
But wouldn't that make him, I don't know, miserable, denying yourself everything good? That doesn't sound very freeing.
It might seem that way, sure. But think about it. By detaching from stuff, from fleeting pleasure, he's building this inner strength. He doesn't need things to make him happy. He's not looking for security from the outside.
So, like, no one can offer him some quick fix and get him to do something stupid?
Exactly. His freedom comes from within. He's not a slave to his desires.
Okay, that makes sense. But the source mentions monks finding meaning in suffering. Like, how is that even possible? You know, like, what about a child suffering? How can you find meaning in that?
That's the tough part. It's where things get complicated. This guy, Viktor Frankl, he wrote about finding meaning in the Holocaust, right?
Right.
His point was, suffering stops being suffering when we give it meaning.
But how do you, how do you even start to do that with something so awful? It feels impossible.
Oh, it's hard. Frankl never said it was easy. But even in the darkest times, we can choose how we react. We can look for meaning, for a purpose that goes beyond the pain.
That's interesting. But wait, does this mean everyone has to become a monk to be free? That seems extreme.
No, not at all. It's like seeing that there's another way to freedom. It's not about chasing comfort. It's about, it's about becoming stronger on the inside.
Like building that mental castle we talked about before?
Exactly. It's about understanding that freedom, it's not about never suffering. It's about choosing how you deal with it.
Okay, so it's like a mindset shift. But how does this, how does it work in real life? We've been talking about monks, these Dostoevsky characters. What about regular people?
That's where it gets really relevant. Think about all the messages we get, right? Buy this, you'll be happy. Get this job, you'll be secure. Don't do that, it's scary.
It's like avoid all the bad stuff at all costs.
Yeah, exactly. And that makes us, it makes us easy to control.
Vulnerable, right. But how? Like, can you give me an example?
Imagine people who are terrified of anything bad happening. Their only goal is to be comfortable and safe.
Okay.
It's super easy for someone powerful to come along and be like, hey, I'll take care of everything. Just do what I say.
Like trading freedom for a sense of security.
Yep. People might give up anything, their individuality, their ability to think for themselves, just to feel safe.
That's kind of scary. It's like that line from the source, right? Who would you want on your side in a fight? The worldly person or the monk?
Yeah, it makes you think, who's going to stand up to a tyrant offering comfort? Someone who's never faced hardship or someone who's used to it?
Dostoevsky's definitely rooting for the monk, I think.
Well, the worldly person might be tempted, right? All that comfort, no more worries. The monk's already got that inner strength. Those temptations don't work as well.
So it's not just about me being free. It's about what kind of world we make. If everyone's just chasing comfort.
It's easier to exploit, yeah. That's something Dostoevsky was worried about. People losing their humanity. He saw this focus on comfort as dangerous.
So what do we do? Do we all have to become monks? Give up everything?
Not exactly. It's more about building that inner strength, being able to face tough stuff and make your own choices, knowing that freedom, it comes with a price.
Yeah. And maybe it's about how we talk about suffering too, right? If it's always this terrible, horrible thing.
We're going to be afraid of it, yeah.
But if you can, like Frankl said, find meaning in it.
It's not so scary anymore.
Exactly. It doesn't mean you want to suffer, but you see it as something that can teach you, make you stronger. That question from the source, right? Who do you want to be, the worldly person or the monk? What about you?
For me, it's the idea that how much we can handle that's connected to how free we are and the meaning we find. It might change over time, but it shapes our choices.
So it's not like picking a team and that's it. It's more like figuring out your own relationship with comfort and discomfort, finding a balance so you can be free.
Yeah, exactly. Not so afraid that you can't do anything, but not obsessed with suffering either.
Wow, this deep dive has given me so much to think about. I still feel like I need to process it all.
It's a lot to take in. But the main thing is, this is about you figuring yourself out. There's no right answer. Think about how you deal with comfort and discomfort. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be when things get hard?
It's choosing what kind of freedom you want. Not freedom from bad things, but freedom to choose, to find meaning, to grow.
That's it, exactly. Not becoming a literal monk, but being strong inside.
This deep dive has been amazing. I feel like we've just started to explore Dostoevsky's ideas.
Oh yeah, there's so much more there. So much to think about.
To our listeners, if you want to dig deeper, I'd say read The Brothers Karamazov. It's a tough book, but it's worth it.
Yeah, definitely. And if you want to learn more about what Viktor Frankl was saying, his book, Man's Search for Meaning, is amazing. It shows how people can find meaning even in the worst situations.
So to sum it all up, I think what we learned today is that Dostoevsky wasn't just talking about ideas. He was challenging us to look at our own lives, our choices, and what's important to us.
He was reminding us that real freedom isn't about avoiding bad stuff or chasing pleasure. It's about being strong inside, finding meaning in the hard times, and making choices that reflect what we believe in, even when it's tough.
And with that, we'll leave you with this one last thought. What kind of freedom are you looking for? And how can that understanding of freedom help you face the tough times and the suffering that we all go through?
Keep asking yourself these questions. Keep exploring. Until next time.
Happy diving, everyone. That's like instead of running, you turn and face it and ask, what's here? What can I learn?
Exactly. It's not about liking suffering, but seeing it as a chance to change, to get stronger.
You know, at first, Dostoevsky's ideas, they felt kind of harsh to me. Like, is he saying pain is good? But now I see it as more about being able to handle whatever life throws at you.
Yeah, a lot of people react that way. We're so used to wanting comfort. Anything about suffering makes us uncomfortable.
Right, right.
But Dostoevsky wasn't saying we should go look for pain. He was saying it's part of life, and what matters is how we see it. It can trap us, or it can make us stronger.
This has been, wow. I need to reread The Brothers Karamazov now, with fresh eyes.
You should. You'll see those characters, their struggles, totally differently now.
For our listeners who want to keep exploring this, any other books or writers you'd recommend?
Besides Frankl, we talked about him, there are these existentialist philosophers like Sartre and Camus. They also deal with these big questions about freedom, meaning, all that, in a world that doesn't always make sense.
Awesome. We'll put those in the show notes. So to wrap things up, what's the one big thing you hope people take away from this?
I'd say the biggest takeaway is that freedom, it's not a finish line you cross. It's more like something you work on, always. Looking at your choices, how you react, and what your experiences mean to you.
It's like even when things are bad, even when life's unfair, you still have the power to choose how you feel, to find something good, to be strong inside. No one can take that away from you.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, I think that about wraps up this deep dive. It's been awesome talking about this stuff with you.
I agree.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us as we went deep into Dostoevsky's world. Until next time, happy diving.